Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about Saty Pivot Ribbon bias candles. We'll do a quick start on that. I know a lot of folks have been asking for this one in particular, and this feature's been out for a few months now, and I've been using it every day since I launched it. So I'm really excited to talk about this one. I think it'll help some folks out there. And I think this is one of those ones where it's optional. You don't have to use it. I don't think it's really necessary for everybody. It may not fit everyone's requirements for trading, but that's okay. So I want to talk through it and tell you a little bit about how it's helped me. But before we start, I just want to remind you that this presentation is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. So anything we talk about here, or your use of the indicators to take trades, those trades are your trades and your trades alone. All right, let's get started. It's going to be a pretty quick video. I think you guys are going to get the idea pretty quickly. We'll walk through how to set them up, what are they, and then we'll walk through a couple of examples on daily charts for Apple and Tesla. Now, these bias candles can be used on any time frame, and I use them on 3 minute, 1 minute, all the way up to the monthly chart. But I want to show you the daily chart because I think that's really important, particularly in the context of what's going on right now. We've had some nice big moves to the upside. We've had some big moves to the downside. So I think the bias candles can really show you and illustrate with Apple and Tesla in particular what's going on. You'll see it visually, like it'll just kind of pop out at you, which I think is going to be really helpful for you. And I think more people need to zoom out and look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts. I think that's a really important thing to do. So I want to focus on that today. Of course, you can use, and we'll talk more about these bias candles in other videos as I show you, and you can go back and look at some of the videos where I have them, like the SPX scalping video. And we can talk about these two examples, and I think you'll get the idea, and you can apply those ideas to lower time frames like the hourly or the 10-minute or 3-minute, 5-minute, whatever you choose. All right, so setting them up is a breeze. As long as you have the latest version of the Pivot Ribbon, which you can grab from satyland.com/pivot ribbon, that's set up on TradingView or Thinkorswim. There's a really simple setting in the indicator settings for Pivot Ribbon called show candle bias, right? And all you need to do is check that on TradingView or move it from no to yes in Thinkorswim, and you're all set. For TradingView, there's one more step. So if you don't do this, you may find that your candles are getting hidden. So you need to do this important step, which is you need to either turn off the body, border, and wicks and chart settings. That can have a negative effect on other things in the platform, so you may want to leave those on. I have them turned off because it doesn't bother me for the way that I use it, but for some people it might be a problem for them. So the alternative is to just simply send the pivot ribbon to the front. So you can right-click the pivot ribbon, select the visual order, and then just have it bring to front. Once you're done with that, you should be all set to go. And then you might want to just pause the video here, get that set up, and then resume the video so we can talk about it and you can kind of see it on your charts in context. So that's how you set it up, really straightforward. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I'm happy to answer it for you. All right, so what are bias candles? And how do we sort of define a bias, right? So as you guys know, the pivot ribbon is the center of the pivot ribbon is the 21 EMA. The 21 EMA is central to my trading style. I've been using it for a very long time at this point. So I generally like to think of the 21 as kind of where I'm going to get my bias from. And you can adjust this. You can change it to the 13. You can change it to the 48. You can change it to the 200. Whatever you choose. You're welcome to adjust it in the settings however you want. But I like to use the 21 to define my bias for me. And that's been very useful over the years. And so that's kind of one of the bases of my trading style is to use the pivot ribbon, which is very much based on the 21 EMA. So based on the 21 EMA, candles are then split into 4 colors from the original 2 based on where they are, where the price is relative to the 21 EMA. Okay? Again, this is a lagging indicator. All EMAs are lagging, so it will adjust on the candle that you're in. So usually you want to wait for a candle close to understand what the final color is going to be for the candle. But the 4 colors are as such. Green candles are defined by an upward movement above the 21 EMA. So pretty standard. You're going to see that normally anyway. Where things are different is what ordinarily would have been a red candle is now a blue candle when you see downward movement above the 21 EMA. Usually that's going to be a pullback, right? If you're in trend, if you're in strong trend, that's going to be a pullback. If it's not strong trend, it could be the start of trend transition, but it shouldn't freak you out, right, if you're in a trade. Red candles are a downward movement below the 21 EMA. Pretty standard, same as you'd normally see. You'd see a red candle if you had downward movement. Where things are different here are, instead of getting a green candle below the 21 EMA, you get orange candles, which show an upward movement below the 21 EMA. Again, usually a pullback if you're short. Right? So really simple. We're just taking the two original colors and we're saying, hey, the only difference is if you're a red candle above the 21 EMA, we're actually going to turn you blue. And if you're a green candle below the 21 EMA, we're going to turn you orange. And what that does is it changes the psychology for me. It may not do this for you. And again, in the beginning, I said this may not be something that everybody wants. That's why it's not on by default. But for me, it changes the way I kind of perceive things. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And so what's the point? Why are we doing this? So my primary goal, as many of you know, and have sort of discovered over the last year and a half, I'm very much focused constantly on reducing the amount of cognitive load that I have when I'm trading. How can I think less so I can take the appropriate actions when needed? Trading is incredibly difficult. It's not easy, right? Good traders can make it look easy, but that's thousands, tens of thousands of hours and expertise that they built to be able to make it look easy. It's not easy, but it can be simple, right? I talk about that a lot. Trading is not easy, but it can be simplified. So my objective in general is how do I simplify trading for myself, and then I'll share that with others. So maybe it'll help you also have a simpler trading style, right? And so when I'm adjusting my indicators, when I'm building things like time warp, when I'm building things like the ATR levels or the pivot ribbon, when I'm adding things like conviction arrows or bias candles, whatever the feature is that I'm putting in there, there's usually a lot of intentionality behind it. Like I'm trying to get something very, very valuable out of doing that. Otherwise, I just don't do it. I don't add stuff to these indicators. I don't build new indicators unless there's something incredibly valuable to me. So color can have an effect on your psychology, right? Red candles and uptrends mess with my brain when I'm long, right? Green candles and downtrends mess with my brain when I'm short. Now, it's not it's not freaking me out of a trade, but it's making me think more about the opposing side of that trade than I really want to be thinking about, right? I shouldn't be thinking about pullbacks in a dangerous way. Pullbacks are normal. They're good. They're healthy. We need that, right? And so bias candles have helped me stay a little bit more relaxed in trend. And I think that's important, right? As one of the areas where I need to improve on is holding longer, right? I think, we all have areas in our trading where we need to get better at. And that's the area that I still struggle with. Like I think my consistency has gotten very good. I'm very happy with the consistency, but I'd love to capture more of the move. And so bias candles are a direct response to that. To me asking the question, how can I stay in the trade? How can I capture a little bit more of the move? And so in the past, I'd be a little more concerned with pullbacks, and I've noticed that the psychology of these bias, the psychology has been shifted a little bit by using the bias candles. And you'll see in the next slide, kind of just a visual representation. It's going to pop right out. You can see where it was bearish and where it was bullish. Of course, we're looking back in time, and things are always easier when you look back in time. But you can try it out yourself, and I think you'll find that it may help you sort of stay on the right side of a longer term bias, right? And I think that's important. Understanding higher level biases will filter down to the lower level and make sure that you can trade effectively even on lower time frames. So we're going to look at the daily chart for Apple. And I've noted here the same 4 candle colors. You'll be able to see them on the screen, and we'll talk a little bit through them. But I want you to just quickly look at this screen, right? And I have it so that the volume is also colored based on the same candle colors. And you can turn those settings on as well. But just look at the screen for a second, right? You can kind of see where it was bearish, and you can kind of see where it was bullish, and you can kind of see where it was in transition, right? So you can kind of see this is transition, right? Where it's going between green and red, green, red, orange, blue, right? It's sort of transitioning here. You can see where it's bearish, where it's red, orange, and then it starts to consolidate before it changes trend. Then you can see again, it starts to change to more of a bullish bias, right? Green, blue, green, blue. And then you can see trend transition, which then eventually recovers, sort of trying to figure things out. We had a nice, beautiful falling wedge setup. So just still staying bullish on this one, but you can kind of see where it's looking to potentially transition, and then it recovers, and then we get a beautiful move up. And it's, in green, and we haven't seen a red candle on Apple in quite a while. That's telling. To me, if I just pulled up this daily chart, I'm bullish on Apple. Way up here, this is Monday's price action, right? I'm recording this on Tuesday, July 4th, right? Evening. So, you can kind of see maybe time for a pullback? Sure, no problem. But am I super bearish on Apple? No. Here's where it would make more sense to be bearish, right? We broke support, continuing, nice, beautiful continuation downside. Got a nice pullback. You can see these nice orange pullback candles. Good entry for another short, right? Rejected at the 8 EMA. Beautiful entry for a short there. Beautiful continuation down. I've got the ATR levels. These are quarterly levels, position levels. You can set the position setting. This is great. These work great with the daily chart. I use them on my daily chart all the time. But you can kind of see there's beautiful spots where you can take profit on swings with these nice entries on pullbacks. You can see here, maybe there's a pullback here. Even if you'd gone short, right, you could have cut the position pretty quickly on recovery. And then as it starts to break above the 13 EMA, you start to see maybe there's going to be transition, right? It's holding this 13 EMA, this white line right here. You get a conviction arrow firing, pullback, beautiful entry for longs, breakout, starts to form a wedge, breakout, retest, continuation, pullback, breakout, pullback, breakout, pullback, breakout. So, we had some nice bull flags this last quarter as well. So, you can see here, green candles above the 21 EMA. Again, refresher, the 21 EMA is what separates the red and orange, separates the green and the blue, right? It's this little line in the middle. You can turn it on too if you want to turn the line on. I like it clean like this. And with bias candles, I don't need to worry about where the 21 is as much anymore because I know if it's above or below based on the current candle color. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's clear, right? So, when you're looking at this, I think it would be hard to deny that this is not bullish, right? This is what I was looking at, since just a couple months ago. I've been looking at this chart with blue and green. So that's why I have not been incredibly bearish, right? And you can see in my tweets, and we'll talk about Tesla, where I was very bearish on Tesla, but I quickly flipped, right? I'm not married to any price targets or, speculation. That's not the way I trade. Some people are great at that. That's not something that I do. I'm looking at what's happening in front of me, and I'm trading what's happening in front of me, and I'm just using, technical analysis and flow and some fundamental analysis, but I'm mostly looking at, technicals and trying to understand how to trade based off of that. But you can see here, right, these green candles. I mean, this is very bullish, right? And, with the exception of this, where we had a little bit of possibility of a trend transition, really it's just been green and blue candles all the way up, with some, of course, price action showing that, there's certainly tradable downside moves here, right? These pullbacks have been tradable to the downside, but this is not a spot where you go short, hold it for a very long period. You're looking for a mean reversion. You're looking for a pullback to the 21, pullback to the 21, pullback to the 21, pullback to the 21, or the 13. If you can't get past the 13, that's fine, right? You can take it short off the rejection of resistance here and a pullback to the 13 EMA or 21 EMA, and then go long again, right? Same thing here, bull flag to the 13, breakout. So I hope you kind of see, and I wanted to show Apple. I love trading Apple. This is just such a great example chart you know, it's hard to argue when you see this, right? It's hard to want to argue with this. And I think Tesla will show a better even better example, which we'll look at next. I was very bearish on Tesla. I thought it would definitely get to 100, and I thought even down to 70 was very likely. We had some bearish bets on Tesla down to the 70s. Of course, it recovered just above 100, which is great. Like, we were able to play it down from 200 to 100. Then it recovered. I looked for recovery of 125. Then we went long on it, and we've been playing it long until recently. We played a little bit to the downside, and then now we've been playing long again. And I'll show you that on the chart, right? I'll show that to you. So let's look at Tesla real quick. So here's Tesla, way back in October, right? It was absolute doom for Tesla. We started at 300, broke the 21, retested it, and it was red candles and orange candles essentially all the way down, except for this little pullback, right, which ended up rejecting and then continuing down. But you can see it on this chart too, right? Bullish up here, right, to start, and this is kind of, the big run up before the massive dump. Big dump here, just red and orange almost all the way through. A little bit of signs of spring here. Couldn't recover and just has been riding the ribbon all the way down. Finally bounced around 100, right, which was the high end target. And then it finally recovered the ribbon, right? And you have this massive gap up and beautiful trend to the upside here. And you can see it on the chart, right? It just broke out. Nice pullback candle here. Pull back to the 8. That would have been a good spot to take long. I think that's after we got in. We ended up getting in over here after it recovered 125 on a inverse FOMI. The daily, but beautiful ride all the way up. This was tradable all the way up. And then, you see a little consolidation here. Started to break down. Looked like it might break down further, and then recovered again, consolidation. You can kind of see that we just sort of consolidated in this area for quite a little while, in this range. Broke down again, sort of filled a portion of the gap, bounced, and it's just been ripping since, right? Once it recovered the ribbon, it's been green and blue all the way up. So, there's some stocks, and the reason why I chose Apple and Tesla, there's some stocks you just don't want to mess around with on, when it's in trend. You just do not want to get in front of that train. This is not the train you get in front of, right? If you're looking for sort of a more optimal trend-based entry, maybe you're looking for here, right? That might have been a fine entry, and then you may have stopped out. Here would have been a great entry, and you would have never stopped out. But you don't want to short, you don't want to long this. This is devastation, right? You don't want to mess with that, and you don't want to short this. You don't want to short that either. Let's go back to Apple. People have been shorting this. Like, fine, pullbacks, no problem. You want to play a mean reversion? I love a good mean reversion. We talk about mean reversion all the time. No problem. Trade a mean reversion in when you're long. Trade a mean reversion when you're short. But don't get crazy. Right? You don't want to get crazy with this stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing that these bias candles have helped me with, is that it's a very clear visual indicator of bias, right? I'm under the ribbon. I'm under the 21. My bias should be short. Right? It's more likely in more scenarios here that I'm going to make money to the downside, right? More likely I'm going to make there's more upside to the downside, if you will, right? Can you make money long on Tesla? Sure. When it's going down, absolutely. There's plenty of spots here where you could play mean reversions, right? Back to the 21, back to the 8, back to the 21. And mean reversion is 8, 13, 21. You're getting back to the EMAs, right? And generally, price will almost always get back to the 21 at some point. Not guaranteed any time frame for when that'll happen, but usually it'll be a directional move or it'll be consolidation, right? You're going to get back, and here's a directional move up. You could even say this is consolidation if you want, but it's really a directional move up. Here's some consolidation. So you got back to the 21, right? EMAs are starting to curl. So that's it. Again, red candles, downward movement. below the 21. Orange candles, upward movement below the 21. Green candles, upward movement above the 21. Blue candles, downward movement above the 21. You can see a few of them here, okay? So that's the general concept behind bias candles. So there's no right way to use them. There's no wrong way to use them. They're simply a visual indicator of what's going on relative to a particular EMA. You may find them valuable. You may find them useless, and that's totally fine. If you're happy with the way that your standard candles are working, that's great. Just keep using them. You don't need to shift to using something else if you have something that's working great. But if you want to try these out, I found them incredibly useful. They've improved my ability to hold on to trades longer. They've improved my ability to sort of control my bias and not get ahead of myself on trying to go short or trying to go long. And I've been using them for Apple. I've been using them for Tesla. And I think that you'll find them useful. I would definitely suggest you try them out, back test them, see if you like them. If you don't like them, no problem. Don't use them. If you like them, great. And if you have any feedback for me or you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If this video was helpful for you, I'd love a like. And if you want to find out, I have a whole bunch of content planned for Q3. And if you'd like to follow along, hit that subscribe button and tap that bell icon so you're notified of my next video. And that's really it. I hope you enjoy the bias candles. I hope they're helpful for you. And I'll see you at the next one.